Welcome back! Seems like the last devlog was a while ago, which I'd like to apologize for, but fun fact, I'm no longer a high school student, meaning that as long as I'm not working, which unfortunately I will be soon, that means I have unlimited free time to do whatever I want, meaning I could work on video game. So ever since the last devlog, what progress have I made? Well, on the programming side, it's a long story that I will be talking about for the rest of the video, but when it comes to the other things, I can actually give a report. First off, I know I made a whole video talking about it, but I'm not actually adding costumes, mainly because making sprites for them suck, and I don't feel like making copies of every player sprite in the game 20 times over just to give players more visual customization. Though I will still use some of those outfits when you go to specific areas, like this winter jacket, which will be worn when you enter the Forgotten Fortress area, which is a place that snows all year round. I'd also like to point out that I am way further along in writing the actual plot. Before I had like bullet points of what I wanted to happen, but since then I figured out like character motivations, story beats, and a lot more specifically regarding the game mechanics and the chain of events that will actually happen in the game. Though I will say that my original idea was more ambitious in terms of scope, but I didn't actually have the story anywhere near complete enough to justify that scope, so I scaled things down and limited a lot of the choice-based narrative to have a lot of events that are directly forced / linear, like everyone will play the intro the exact same way, but the little nuances can still change depending on what you do. I've also made a lot more characters since last time. Before we had maybe 4 or 5, but now we have at least 15 characters, which all generally have a direct influence on over the plot. Though over time I'll be adding more as I come up with designs, which I'm still actively doing whenever I have the opportunity to do so. Okay, now it's time to bring up programming. You see, I haven't really made much progress on my Abyss directly, but also at the same time I have. It'll take a moment to explain, but as I'll do so as much as I can. You'll see, since I'm still largely in the concept phase of making my Abyss, I still have a while until I'm actually making code in that regard. In that meantime, I decided to make a separate game entirely that exists to pre-make the mechanics that my Abyss will have. This works out because my new game is in the same genre and shares a lot of the same mechanics that my Abyss has. It's just a simpler version of those mechanics. You might be asking then, what is this new game? Well, it's called Matchbox. What's convenient about Matchbox is the fact that I couldn't care less about spoiling its story. That's because unlike my Abyss, which is a mystery RPG, Matchbox is just a regular RPG leaning towards the JRPG space, mostly inspired by works like Yume Nikki no Mori and the older RPG maker genre as a whole. Matchbox is a turn-based RPG where you play as representations of emotions that are fighting back against a tyrannical rule against the representation of depression, all contained within one person's soul. Each of the main protagonists are individually representations of positive characteristics that one way or another had their characteristics stolen. In place, they've developed new negative characteristics that dictate how they behave. In order, you have Grief. Grief is an entity that lacks an identity, having been stolen by the representation of Malice. In place, Grief now represents sadness due to its pain and sorrow of not knowing its true identity. Overall, it's a pretty balanced party member that acts as the leader given its more level-headed nature. Next is Rosa. She's an entity that lacks heart, having been stolen by the representation of anxiety. In place of her heart, she now feels anger and resentment towards the people around her, even if she still means well. Overall, she's a good healer and works well as the second party member beside Grief, managing to keep both of them alive with her healing spells. After Rosa is Tank. He's an entity that had his brain stolen by the representation of Dread. In place, he now represents ignorance, as he now can't convey emotion or even speak. Despite the fact that he cares deeply for the people around him and wants to help them whenever way he can. As a party member, his name doesn't lie, he's the Tank, and he's got a bit of a higher damage output and can resist more damage at the cost of his accuracy being pretty low. Last is Carrie. They're an entity that is wrapped in mystery, as they don't often seem to open up to the people around them. The emotion they represent is apathy, as a party member, they offer high magic damage as output at the cost of lacking physical damage given their inability to use two-handed weapons. They tend to also have spells that involve sacrificing parts of themselves, mostly HP, to activate instead of using MP, which, if you know typical RPG mechanics, HP is your health, MP is your magic points, stuff like that. You know. Now, I've gone on ad nauseum about the characters, but that's not all I've done for this game, because I've actually made a complete prototype of the combat mechanics, complete with the leveling system and everything. While a lot of the mechanics are missing, such as status effects, enemies doing support skills, and a general lack of content, the framework for all of this is already laid down and playable. Alongside that, it's pretty flexible too, so I can add whatever I want without needing to change much, which is nice. I would also like to note, I didn't even write this down in my script, but the combat in Matchbox is actually going to be directly ported to my Abyss with a lot of changes, at least visually, though certain mechanics such as turn order and stuff like that will actually stay the same. I won't be elaborating fully on this video regarding that, I'm just pointing it out. Right now I'm actually working on adding a menu that will allow you to do such things as check your team's stats, equip things to them, use items, use skills, talk to your team about whatever happens beyond their minds, and setting stuff, I guess. Once I finish this menu, I'll be adding a dialogue system and cutscenes, and once I do that, I can actually start working on making areas a thing. In that regard, I'll make videos explaining the progress I've made in regards to that. So yeah, if you're excited for that, feel free to like and subscribe. So then once I actually release the game's demo, y'all will know about it. Now that I've yapped for a while, I actually have no idea what to talk about. So yeah, I'll make more devlogs soon. If you want to talk to me about these games, though, you should join the Discord linked in the video's description and in the channel's description. Okay, cool, bye.